What do you think was why do you think you were unsuccessful in that time? So anyone going for it, because I've heard talks, people have come to me and said, let's start a union, let's do something in comics. Why do you think that it's something that didn't work at the time?
It goes back to the, I think that unions, the concept of collective bargaining, the concept of organized unions has been so tainted. And here's where we get political. I mean, one of the reasons that the right has been so successful in this country in the past couple of years is that you've got a constituency of people who believe that they're just one paycheck away from millions, and that they don't identify with other people in the same economic slot they're in. They identify with someone who tells them that it's potential they can be rich. And I come from a union background. My family was always involved in union politics, and I'm a staunch and loyal member of the Writers Guild of America, even though I am functionally retired. I'm still a voting member. And I think that in the first case, in the case that I depict in the book, the reason was that these people were shamed because they were made to feel that the work they were producing was worthless and useless and pointless.
And that's a theme that I see in Hey Kids comics a lot.
That is the transcendent theme of the material, of people misidentifying the value of what they've done. That's really what it's about. And I think one of the reasons why that generation was so much more bitter than mine is that I think we went in with our eyes open. I will never forget, years ago, I was at Marvel, and we were talking about an artist whose work I held in very high esteem. And another professional working guy, a guy I've been working for years, my parents' age, heard me use the word fan, and the drip of sarcasm and dismissal, the contempt these guys had for the concept of fandom was rich and intense. But my generation had no bitterness, because these guys, I think, all expected this to be a stop on a train. Yeah, they do this for a while and then move on. I mean, when you look at the work that's published in Crime Does Not Pay, those crime comics that ran through the 40s. Mm-hmm. I did the introduction of one of the volumes, and I point out that the work looks like the work of assistants. I can tell you almost to a man that if you look at the career, the background of illustrators working in this country, starting from the 50s into the early 80s, guys who were born between 20 and 30, okay, you'll find comic book jobs because you take the jobs you get.
Yeah.
But they didn't stay with comics, they moved on. The guys who did comics, I mean, they all thought they'd move on to something else. Move on to the slicks. Yeah. Like Alex Raymond always believed that he was going to become a magazine illustrator. And instead he basically had two careers. Raymond in Flash Gordon and Jungle Jim and Secret Agent X9 defines one era of adventure comics. And then he comes back from the war and creates the photorealistic comic strip with Rip Kirby. Out of Rip Kirby comes everything from Ben Casey to Apartment 3G to Peter Scratch. This is a slew of hyper-realistic comic strips. Mary Perkins on Stage by Leonard Starr. And most of these people thought this would be a place to move on to something else. My generation, there's only one person in my generation who believed that was the case, and he's still working. And he's one of the only other people in my generation who's doing work that's not a parody of itself these days. But he always assumed he'd be in comics for 5 years and move on. And I won't name names.
But it's interesting, though, because a lot of people, even today, I think still have that same mindset. Even on the newer generation, my generation, a lot of people are like, I'm only doing this until I'm able to get my own TV show, or I'm able to get,
It's because, as I said earlier, comics have become an IP business.
Of course.
That's what Image really is. Yeah. I mean, I'm the only. I don't think there's anybody else at Image who's both writing and drawing his own stuff.
I think there is, but I can't name names right now.
I mean, it's an odd one. I mean, because mostly it's writers, with all due respect, finding second-rate artists to illustrate and delineate their material so they can generate IP. I mean, there are some first-rate talent working at Image, but not as often, not as many as there should be. Mostly it's an attempt.
I think there's some amazing talent at Image, but that's my view of.
Well, there is, but there are also quite a few guys working at Image who are basically being used by writers to to get the writer's concept on paper so they've got something to sell.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you got to find a job too, you know. So
No question.
it's part of the process.
Mhm.